What's going on YouTube? Today I'm going to be showing you how I use JB Weld and a GoPro together to make the ultimate Motovlogger setup. So right now we're looking at my current setup, which is a single Motovlogger setup. This just captures my audio, does not capture the Sena device. Today we're going to be taking another Sena 50S, put it into a new Ruroc helmet, and I'm going to be wiring it so you can not only hear myself, but also whatever's happening in my ear. So if I'm riding with another rider, or I'm listening to music, or I'm taking a phone call, you're going to be able to hear that crystal clear as if they were motovlogging as well. So let's get rid of the showy, let's pull up the Ruroc, and let's get into this build. So before we unbox this, let's go ahead and talk about the parts real quick. So this is the ultimate Motovlogger setup. So yes, we're going to be using Gorilla Glue or epoxy and JB Weld. And then JB Weld, we're going to use this to make a stronger bond from our helmet to our GoPro mounts. That way it can support the heavier mounting system and case. We're going to use an audio splitter. So we got a stereo breakout 3.5 TRS to dual 3.5 TSF. We have two giant squid mics that we're going to be using. One for the Sena device to pick up the audio coming out of that headset, and then one for our voice as well. And then we have the OG GoPro Hero 5 through 7 mic adapter. So this is the GoPro Hero 8. We're in a small rig case. So the small rig makes a lot of hard cases for like DSLRs and mirrorless cameras. So you can have a little bit of stability. So it has different mounting points all over it. It's a little overkill for what we're doing today, but we're going to use it nonetheless because it's the best option, which I'll show you here in a second. It has a mechanical door with a locking system right here and a nice little cushion to soften any vibration from the battery. Pulled the GoPro Hero 8 out. With the Hero 8, the battery door is now on the side, as well as the SD slot. The USB-C connector port is also there. That's because they put the two little mounting points on the bottom now where the battery door used to be. So something unique about the GoPro Hero 8, since they removed the spring battery door from the bottom, they put it up here. It now snaps on and off very easily. It pops off, so it's not something that I would like to ride with this setup. While you're on a ride, if you're going to change the batteries, the GoPro is going to stay in place, the battery door is going to stay in place. I blacked out any logo, so right here it's a small rig. I just took a Sharpie to it and blacked that out so it looks a little bit more stealthy. Again, on the side, you have the battery door, which locks in place. Just press the button to open it. If you want to remove your GoPro, you have a nice locking door so it's not going to pop out. When I need to change the battery on a ride, just open it up, pull the battery out, put a new one in, and I can restart and go. On the mounting system, we're going to have a 90-degree mount right here, GoPro mount. These are all plastic. Then we have the curved mount right there to a regular GoPro adapter right here. So the only things that are different on this is this screw and this screw right here. I use little hex screws instead of the big twisties. Links down below for that as well. You can buy like 10 of them for a few bucks. And before we move forward, I'm just going to talk about some of the issues why I use this. Previously, I used external battery pack with an external mic, and what I found is the battery would overheat. And if you take the battery out completely and start it up, the GoPro wouldn't recognize the external mic and therefore it wouldn't record any audio. So I couldn't use that. So after a lot of tests with the GoPro Hero 8 and not wanting to switch back to the 7, this is the best solution I found to guarantee audio. So what we're going to be doing is carrying a bunch of GoPro Hero batteries with us on the rides, and we're just going to be switching them out once the battery gets a little bit low. So let's go ahead and weigh this, see how much it weighs. I'm going to go ahead and throw a battery in there since that adds a little bit of weight as well. Comes in at a hefty 5.5 ounces or 158 grams. If we add the mic adapter to the helmet, another 20 grams, 6.3 ounces. That's what it's going to weigh. It's going to be a little bit heavy, 6.3 ounces for this whole setup. But again, it's going to be the most reliable. We're going to reinforce that weight with the JB Weld. So again, this is the ultimate GoPro Motovlogger setup. Not the lightest, but it's going to work for you every time. When you get done with an amazing ride and great content, you're going to ensure that you have the audio and the footage to back it up. All right, with all that out of the way, let's get to unboxing and let's build this guy. All right, here she is, the Atlas 2.0 in Ghost. We're going to take the clear visor off, replace it with the smoke one at the end, but right now we're just going to get to building the GoPro setup. So the good thing about this helmet right off the bat for a Motovlogger setup is a lot of flat area to work with. So you got flat area on the side, so if you want to extend it out a little bit or have a side mount, you have a complete flush area here where you can put your mount. You have nice spots here where you can put it, nice spots there. It's smart to mount it where the lens is going to be centered. We're probably going to run it right here. All right, so I got two different mounts here. We got the flat mount and the curved mount. We're going to see which one lines up the best. We want the least amount of gap between the helmet and the mount itself, and then just kind of eyeball, see how much gap you have on the edges. That's where it's going to lift up. You guys can kind of see it right there. When you push down on it, depending on where you're at, you got a little bit of an edge. So I'm probably going to use the curve mount, push it down, and then we're going to JB Weld it. So before we do the mount, you want to go ahead and build your GoPro setup kind of like this. You don't have to have the GoPro itself in there. Just use the case as a template. Keep it a little bit lighter, easy to work with. There's going to be links down below this. So we have the curve piece, which is this long piece right here, which goes directly into our clip. And then we have this 90-degree piece right here. So we're going to take this piece, the curve mount piece, and build our setup. And then we just connect it to the buckle, put our GoPro case in there, and that's it. So those two pieces are what you're going to need for this build. And then of course we got our hex bolts there. Instead of using this big piece and have it sticking all the way out, we just have these nice flush ones. So we have our mount already attached to the clip. Before I do that, I'm actually going to put the GoPro back in there. Now I think about it, it will be nice to have this mounted up perfectly before we JB weld. Make sure we got enough slack for that mic adapter so it's ideally placed. Plug our mic adapter in, because sometimes you might want to plug it in facing this way, you got a 90-degree angle, or you might want to go in this way. So you want to figure that out before you go ahead and JB weld anything to your helmet. For this helmet, it's going to go facing backwards. So all I'm looking at is A, where this can go, and then B, where my mount can go here. Just make sure your visor is down before you do this so you know if it's going to hit or not. I'm thinking right about here is where it's going to end up, and then we can mount this to right there. We can then plug in our mic, bring our wires down, gaffer tape it to hide it, and epoxy it in here. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and mount this. This looks good. We can make this work. It doesn't have to sit 100% flush, so it doesn't have to sit perfectly like that. There can be a little bit, as long as the majority of the meat and potatoes of this guy right here is touching somewhere on there, so you can mount it, get a good bond to it, you'll be fine. Before you put this on, you want to make sure your angle is correct, because that's one thing that's a little bit harder to adjust. You would have to add another mount, so make sure you're pretty horizontal when you're looking at it. Make sure it's not cockeyed like that, otherwise you're going to have to crop in. Don't get too OCD with it. You know, it's up to you if you want to get it perfectly exact. I wing it. It's going to be a super wide angle, so you're going to capture a lot in there. I would say the more important thing besides that is making sure this is sitting 100% flush. That way you can bond it completely to the helmet. Looking pretty solid there, maybe a little bit to the left. I'm going to go ahead and remove this. We got a good idea where that's going to go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and peel this off and get to work on this guy. That looks good to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and press this guy on there. And before I do anything else, what I'm going to do now is remove this mount, get the GoPro out of there. That way I can just get my hands in there and really press her down. So as you can see, pretty good little bond right there. My next step is going to be to remove this arm, and we're going to get to work on some JB weld. This is going to be fun, guys. Let's go ahead and mix this stuff together. I'm just going to use my little plastic piece here, use my zip tie stirrer. Mix this guy up a little bit. That's looking good. So all I'm going to do is work my way around this, keeping the top area free. I'm adhering not only to the helmet, but also the adhesive to the mount itself. So I'm just trying to bond everything together. So it's going to be a nice bond from the plastic to the adhesive to the helmet. So right there, there's that little gap right there. That's the GoPro adhesive that you can see down there. I'm just going to fill that all in with this JB weld. All right, now that I got that on there, I'm going to go ahead and rebuild my GoPro setup, making sure I don't move it too much. I'm just going to slide this in there before it sets completely, make sure it clicks. Push this little guy down, this little rubber safety thingamajiggy, and then we're good there. Put my GoPro back on, hook up my mic adapter, and then I'm going to set that mic adapter on the side and use the rest of this JB weld on that. That's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty flush. Just going to double check. For right now, I'm just going to plug this in and get a good idea. Leave a little bit of slack. That way if you move it a little bit forward, a little bit back, it can still move a little bit. Grab a nice little permanent marker. So I'm just going to outline the edge. I'm going to put a little masking tape over this connector, make sure I don't get any epoxy or JB weld in there. I'm going to take a 3M piece here and just kind of apply it. This is just the back of a GoPro. We just want a little bit of adhesive on it. Keep it in place a little bit, and then we'll use the JB weld for the rest. Press that guy in, mask this connector, so the mic connector and the USB-C. I'm just going to mask that to make sure we don't get any extra JB weld in there. Again, we're trying to get the adhesive, the adapter, and the helmet all to be one little piece. That's looking nice right there. Don't feel like you need to go totally ham with this one. It's not as heavy as the GoPro mount itself. All right, it's been about 25 minutes and it's looking pretty dry. It's still a little sticky, so I'm not going to stick my fingers on it, but we're good enough to continue working on this. So I took the GoPro off just while it was drying to keep the weight off it. Now we're going to move on to the Sena device, getting the Sena hooked up. So the first thing we're going to do is get the splitter cable mounted, and this is going to plug in just like that. We're going to have these two in like this, making sure it's pushed all the way down. And then I already did a sound test on it to make sure it worked, so I would recommend doing that before you epoxy anything. And then we're going to run these wires into the helmet itself. But first, let's go ahead and get this epoxy to that way it doesn't pull out. So the problem is when you're riding, it could pull out a little bit and then you get no audio. So what I like to do is just epoxy it, make sure it's not going to move at all. These are a little bit more secure, so it takes a good amount of pressure to push it in all the way, and then pull it out. So I'm not worried about these coming out, so I'll probably just gaffer tape these. But this right here, this takes almost no effort to pull it out. First thing we're going to do is just mask that off, make sure that USB-C port is protected so we don't damage the mic adapter itself. What I think I'm going to do is just kind of bring this all together, and then we're going to tape these down so they don't move. Now keep it in check, and then we'll tape all that stuff down, bring all that stuff in. So that's just going to make it a little bit cleaner. And I'm going to go ahead and mask out my ports just in case any of that epoxy runs its way down here. You just got to make sure you have even left and right epoxy and set, and then mix it all together. Give me a nice clear epoxy. Brush this on. Try not to get it to run away. Just kind of feathering it down. You could do this in different coats, so you can put a little bit on, let it dry, and then come back, add a little bit more for strength. I'm choosing just to glob it all on at once. All right, that's looking pretty good. So as you can see, it's just feathered in, so it's bonding from this point right here, which is the splitter, to the adapter. All right, let's let it sit for about 15-20 minutes. We'll be back to finish this guy up. Move this over to the side. All right, let's take a look at the Sena. This is the 50S if you haven't seen it yet. The big dial I love for when you have gloves on. It's so much easier. So we're going to run one mic that's going to be picking up from the audio from the speakers from the Sena device. And then our other mic is going to be picking up our Motovlogger. So this we're going to be mounting into the front of the helmet to pick up our voice. But first, let's get the Sena mounted and get that all situated. GoPro stuff is on Ryder's right side. Our Sena device is going to be on the left side. Let's go ahead and flip this over, and I'm going to get all these pads out of the way, just give myself a little bit more room. Just like any other helmet, all this stuff snaps together, and pull all this out. That pulls out as well. Let's get that chin guard out of the way. A lot of room in there in the chin mount to mount our mic. Looks like this is for the vent. So I'm just going to put a little piece of gaffer tape on that that vent open and close switch, just so that thing doesn't open or close on its own. I just want to leave it closed. So we got a slot right here, has some Velcro on it, which appears to be for your comm unit, just to stick right there. I'm just going to loosen these bolts here on the Sena. That way I can slide this between my helmet and get it mounted up. That's looking pretty good right there. So all right, so that's what it's going to look like on the side. It's going to look like that. Still got enough room for my antenna to come up. Visor goes down all the way without hitting it. I would say that's pretty perfect. So this is going to be pretty easy since Ruroc already has the Velcro on the helmet. So all I have to do is basically slap it on there. If your helmet doesn't include that, Sena does include the double-sided tape. So if you need to put Velcro in your helmet, they do give you that. But since Ruroc hooks it up, we don't have to mess with that. So that looks good there. Stuck it right there where my ear should be. And we'll do the same thing right about there. What I like to do is get it as close to this as possible. Not right on top of it, because then the audio from this is going to supersede the audio from you. I'm going to put it facing up, and I'm going to kind of wedge it into the little padding right there. And hopefully I won't feel that once I put all the padding back in. But it's going to be facing up, pretty close to that, but not right on top of it. So there's the speaker, there's the mic, and just going to be like right there, maybe a little bit lower. That way the audio coming out sneaks into the mic right there. What I'm going to do is just bring out a little gaffer tape and just tape it up. And you can put the tape on top of it as well. It's going to make its way through. You're going to have enough audio to get through it. So don't be scared to put a little bit of tape over the mic itself. It's not going to hurt it. I'm going to leave this all bunched up like that, and I'm just going to throw it at the bottom. And then I'm going to have my wire come out right here. And then our mic setup. So this one I'm probably going to put more towards the front and just put a dead kitten on it. So here we go. This is going to be my mic setup right there. Mic is on this side over here. For the Sena, I'm going to put this mic on the other side. That way there's not feedback. And for this one, I'm probably going to put it underneath, probably pointing up towards the front right here. So there's a little gap I like right there between the styrofoam of the shell. And I think it might work pretty good right here. So I'm just wedging it in a little groove right there. The mic is going to be pointing up, so no wind noise from the bottom should be sneaking in. When I open the visor, wind noise might be coming in there, but since I have that dead kitten, dead cat, whatever it's called, on there, it should diffuse it pretty well. I'm going to put a little piece of gaffer tape on this mic right here to try to help keep it in place. The biggest thing is making sure that your mics are in a nice stable and secure spot so they don't move, both for your Sena and your Motovlog. If possible, use your cheek pad to put your Motovlogger mic in there. That way you get a little bit more damper in. You don't get so much wind noise. Because if you have the mic right in front of your chin and you're talking in front of it, you get excited, you're going to peak that audio and you have broken audio, and then that's no fun. All right, now we got our two plugs. It doesn't matter which one you plug in. So when you do this method, when you use this splitter, what's going to happen is one of these is going to record to your right audio and one's going to record to your left audio. and then in post we're going to need to duplicate it and split it. But what's cool about this, if you have audio to where, let's just say the person is talking too much in your Sena or the levels aren't perfect, you can take that right audio and you can decrease it. If he's yelling really loud or saying something that he shouldn't be saying, you can actually remove it, take that little clip out, and then boost yours up. So you have the levels and the control while doing this. So all the audio is going to go through here as a mono, and from here, then you're going to duplicate it to make it a stereo, and you have the left and right control. So we got those two plugged in right there. All I'm going to do, again, these are very secure in there, so I don't have to worry about those backing out. I'm going to take some white gaffer tape, and I'm just going to apply it right here. Keep these two wires secure, make sure they don't back out. And then the red and the black, I'm not too fond of that, so I'm going to gaffer this up a little bit more. And you get really clean with this gaffer tape. I'm going to do like a rough mask right here. So all that's going to be held into place. Put a piece of white gaffer tape on this, and now blends into white. Now if you're running a black helmet, you don't really have to do all this, but that's just something I like to do to kind of clean it up. Put a little piece right there just for added security on that mic adapter and that mic jack. Make sure it doesn't move. All right, so she is good. As far as like GoPro batteries versus aftermarket, I got GoPro. This is the 8 battery, but I use the 7 battery. I also use aftermarket ones. I'm gonna link them all down below. And then for the card, I use a SanDisk 128 Extreme. I find that gives me about 4 to 5 hours of recording time. All right, so for my GoPro settings, I'm running 1080/60. Super wide is on, hyper smooth is on, low light is off. Zoom is at 1x, clips are off, Pro Tune is on. I have it at standard for bitrate. The EV comp is 0. White balance is auto. The ISO minimum is 100. ISO maximum 3200. Sharpness low. Color I have on GoPro. Raw audio is off, wind is off, and mics is stereo. Okay, let's go ahead and connect this guy to the mount. Just be careful because you have metal here and then you have plastic for your 90-degree angle, so you don't want to go ham on over tightening this. But I just used the regular GoPro thumb screw here that allows me to adjust the up and down. And also if I'm trying to format or do anything, I can turn that. If I need to take the battery out, whatever I need to be able to get in and out, I want to be able to quickly do that. For everything else, I have those hex screws to permanently attach that position in. So before I turn the GoPro on, I always make sure the mic adapter is attached. That's very important. All right, it's looking pretty good right now. Let's go ahead and fire it up. And we're going to turn it on, test the mic. So let's go to this shot right here. All right, here we go. First setup. All right, what's going on, guys? Hopefully you guys can hear me pretty good. So here's what we're looking at. We're using the external mic that's in my chin mount right here. Let's go ahead and fire up the Sena. Turn that.
Hello.
That's turned all the way up right there. Let's test that again.
Goodbye.
There we go. So we should have audio coming from both the Sena and my voice. Let's do them both at the same time. So here we go. Talking. Hello. And we'll say goodbye to Sena. Goodbye, Sena. So let's go ahead and put on the smoke visor, hit the road, and test it out with someone else. All right, so we're on the bike now. Let's do a speed test. First off, I wasn't recording, so you guys can see the helmet, the Ruroc helmet, and the setup right here. I got the smoke shield on it now. It's amazing. So I was just talking about it, but it wasn't recording. But the amount of field of view I can see with this helmet is crazy. How much it is, a lot more than showy. So I don't know, it just looks like I'm in a convertible. Even though I have the GoPro right here in the front, where I was, a little bit concerned it might be blocking some view, I see more than I can see with my showy, so it's crazy. But we got visor down right now. We're gonna do a little speed test on the ground, so take that with a grain of salt. But here we are going, cruising speed, 40 miles an hour or so. We'll go down this road real quick and let's go a little bit. There we go. A little bit of a speed test, a lot of wind, not so much in the helmet. The helmet sounds amazing. I'm not getting any wind noise in here, but here we go at speed 50. It's pretty fast on the ground. And then just do a visor up at speed. So this is visor up at speed. Like I said, I could see a lot. Wow, it doesn't even feel like I'm wearing a helmet on top. I don't see any of my helmet on the top. I can just see my chin and my GoPro. All right, let's do a little wheelie test. Higher RPMs. Pretty good. Visor open. Visor down. I'm just going to call somebody. It's going to be the same concept. Really loud. Turn that down a little bit. Hello?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Driving home.
Looks like a storm.
I look like a stormtrooper?
Yeah.
I hit my shots. Pew! Alright, so there you go. There is the test. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments down below. I want you guys to let me know, does this look like I'm a stormtrooper? Let me know what you think about this helmet, how it sounds, and what you think about the look of this helmet. And if you have any questions or comments, post them down below. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you in the next one.